I don't know legally from a legal standpoint, but I know that Jerry West is the NBA logo. Jerry West is the player when you see the NBA logo, and he's the NBA logo. And at some point, he sued the NBA for the rights to his image. It's his body that's the logo from everything on every NBA merchandise is Jerry West. So Henry can't say this, but I'm going to say it.
The shadow?
The shadow of the bicycle with Henry's logo on it, and I don't feel he's been fairly compensated for that in any sense of the word.
But see,
but he has no choice. You can't sue people.
Just to play the devil's advocate, the lawyers would say, I don't know, this figure, he's wearing a cape and a hood. I mean, really, it could be anybody.
But the Jerry West precedent is, to me, the one that's important.
And if you got your answer, we all got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying if what's right is right. I just was on eBay the other day and I was looking at, case windows for PCs because I'm trying to put a PC together. And Henry's picture comes up as something you can put as a sticker on your MacBook. And it's clearly Henry. It's clearly Henry, and somebody's selling this, and somebody else is getting money from the trademarked image of that. He's not. Okay, so that's wrong.
Welcome
that's
to
wrong.
being an actor.
Yeah.
Probably he hates Mexico.
Yeah.
The way it all happened that wasn't in the original script. And when we did the dinner table scene, I felt the tears coming up. And as Mary, I thought, I don't want to let my kids see me cry. So I got up and left, which I was not supposed to do. And Stephen comes over after we called cut, and he says, why did you get up and leave the day? And I explained to him what was happening. And in that minute, he called the crew in and said, you've got a half hour, build me a kitchen wall with a sink and running water so he could take me over there and then take Henry over there. You don't remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And bring me around in that big close-up where I said he hates Mexico.
That line is still relevant today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For me, there's a line that I have that wasn't even. It was a voiceover where we're walking down the driveway, and we're just discussing what we're going to do with DT, and I say, how do you explain school to a higher intelligence? and Melissa Matheson, who wrote the script, had such an elegant, concise way of writing. Like, he hates Mexico, or, like a...
She was amazing.
She was there on the set every day.
She just knew us.
She was there on that set every day, but she could get to the point. She could get to the point of something. And we were just discussing Black Stallion.
In a kid way.
In a kid way. She wrote the script for Black Stallion, and it has very few lines. Kelly Reno doesn't talk the whole first half of the movie, basically. And then, and then there's very little dialogue in that movie, but the dialogue that is there is very to the point. It's good. She's missed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask about sequels and things like that, and I don't think you can do it without Melissa Matheson's voice.
Unless she has something
Yeah.
in a trunk somewhere.
Yeah.
That's that they discover, and we can't really do
Look,
ET
I'm
justice.
old, the dog's dead, and the kids are grown. What are we going to
Grown.
do?
I do have a question about that one, about the table scene, because I heard that there was an unscripted word or insult that is used, penis breath.
That was very scripted.
Yeah, that was the script.
Yeah, but
My reaction was...
No, your reaction wasn't.
her reaction wasn't. And Dee's reaction is great. But the line came about because Melissa Matheson was in the supermarket and she heard these two brothers having an argument, and one of the brothers called the other one a penis breath. And so she told Stephen, and he said, well, we have to put that in the script.
Obviously, the market was in Los Angeles. I'm saying, you're not gonna hear that here.
He said, you guys are just exhausted. It's been a long day. You don't want to be here. Trudge through the lines, low energy, just do this. And then a couple takes later, it was, I want you guys so hopped up on Coca-Cola that you can barely remember the lines. I don't even care what you say. I just want it in turbo speed. And there were so many different takes of so many different energies that when they got to the editing, which kind of goes back to some questions earlier about do you know when you're filming it if it's going to be great, there's so many parts afterwards with directorial choices and editing and end up making it look a certain way. I just remember Stephen had so many emotional options in every scene that when they edit it together and they, you know, we all feel like you got taken up and you crash down and you go up and then you're hopeful, and he really emotionally was able to get us to do a lot of different things where in the editing process he could build probably 4 or 5 different movies, emotional movies that either focused on, you know, the family aspect, the Dungeons and Dragons aspect, the friendship aspect, the single parent aspect, the sibling connection aspect. I mean, he made sure he had all the footage through us, and it was very easy as an actor to work with him. It didn't ever feel like effort, and he always got that out of us. So I never felt stuck. I just felt like I trusted him and went along with everything he offered us.
Yeah, I have to tell you from an adult point of view, it was magical watching Stephen work with the kids because he really kind of became a kid. He would play games with them and he got down on their level, and from my perspective, just that it was very magical to watch. Do you recollect it the same way? Was my perspective.
It was fun. I remember it being so much fun with all of us, and all of like those scenes, especially in the first act when we're all at the house, and there's a lot of interaction between the kids. It was fun in those moments because we were really creating stuff. We were doing things that weren't on the page, and it was becoming alive, and it was, you know, and that's really what you're trying to do in this whole thing, you know, is you're trying to bring those moments to life. But like KC said, especially in the days of film, like when you're actually shooting on film, directors got options. Because they're not there really to be on set, they're there to get in the editing room and put the story together, right? So a lot of these guys, including Stephen, although he really loved being on set, really where they do their work is editing, you know, and working with the editor. And they're also under pressure from the studio to bring forth something that the studio wants to put out. So they have to deal with corporate as well.
Which the studio doesn't usually know.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they really don't know what they want to put out, but they just want something successful.
Right.
It's true.
But the directors, especially back then, they shot several different movies within that movie, so that they could cut it a certain way. The studio said, no, we don't really like the storyline with these guys, because you can't go back and, I mean, now you can much more easily and you know, a lot of these less expensively, but at the time, you know, it would be not only rebuilding the sets or refining the same locations, you know, and then those guys are going to come at you with much more, you know, higher prices for the locations again, because they know you need it. I mean, it's a money pit, and so they covered their bases. So we shot several different films within that film.
Yeah, I saw a version that was sort of without music, and you know, when we were doing the looping where you're replacing dialogue that somehow didn't get recorded or was muffled or something, And so I saw a version without music, and I think it was a black and white, like a rough cut, while I was doing the looping. It was a very different movie. It was much more intimate and much more, I didn't see all the scenes in the movie. I didn't see the entire movie with no music, but I saw a lot of the scenes with Henry and E.T. and the, maybe different cuts that they didn't actually use in the final finished product. And it was much more of a kind of a somber movie, if you can believe that, without the music.
Particularly disgusting kind of person to inhabit for a while. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're making a film and it's pretend, and everybody involved is, they've got your back, and you're in a safe place to pretend, supposedly, unless, of course, you get fired or something for being inappropriate, which could have happened easily, and
To you?
and has happened for many people. No, but I mean, recently in a production that I worked on, an actor was fired for being inappropriate with an actress, but it was within the context of a scene. And that was very confusing and kind of disturbing to me, because I think, and also to answer your question with this, I think that we are able to do a lot of the things that we're able to do because we feel safe in that environment. You can feel like you're working with people who you can trust and who are there to create something with you that is going to be good, and you can all be proud of. So you take these leaps and in good faith. But personally, I think it can affect you. Playing that character affected me. I didn't feel comfortable with the scenes, and the actress that I was working with was a minor, and I spoke with her mother. I spoke with her beforehand, even though there was nothing really physically that transpires between us in the scene. It's very emotionally disturbing and psychologically disturbing. And it was upsetting to her, I think, the actress, because she was 14, and it's just, you don't process these things in the same way. But again, I was working with people that I felt safe with, and I felt like this is good, and it's going to be good for the project. I think if it's something that's just graphic for being graphic, then it's kind of redundant.
You can't play a bad guy. I mean, my limited experience acting, somewhat limited in movies, but in plays, I played, the closest I did was a play where I played like a real racist kid in a play called Master Harold and the Boys. And I actually spit on a guy and, refer to him as the N-word and everything, and it's a brilliant play. The play is addressing sort of South African racism. But you can't play that. You have to be just the guy you are raised by your parents to be, and that's your viewpoint. So you have to go full force with that. So then, like Henry's saying, if then your hands are behind your back and you're not allowed to make character choices because it might not be politically correct, then what are we going to do? It's like you're just going to watch some sort of half-baked entertainment.
When I did the part in 3 from Hell, I had the best time of my life.
What about The Frighteners? I love that's my favorite role you've done.
The
That's my
Frighteners.
favorite role of yours.
But, Greta in 3 from Hell is just disgusting. She's just a disgusting character. And when Rob Zombie sent me the script, I wrote him back and I said, oh, I've got to play this part, Rob, but I have to look really bad. I don't want to wear any makeup, and I want to dye my hair brown, and I want horn-rimmed glasses. And there was like beat, 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 and the next email that came in said, okay. But she was sick. In every way you could look at her, she was sick. And my fun in playing those roles is just to get me out of the way. You know, we all have those dark places. We just have been trained not to allow them to come out or not to encourage them, you know? And the fun of an actor is that you're in a safe place to let them come out, as long as they don't take you over and go into your life, you know? And at the beginning of my career, it was much harder for me to leave Karen in the Howling, Don and Cujo. That was my toughest. That was my toughest. But, you know, then you learn. You start learning, oh, if I want to keep my health, I don't take this character home with me. Right? If I want to keep my marriage, I don't take this character home with me. But for me, it's really exciting to get into those parts.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the fun of it, right?
Being somebody else.
Yeah, and being able to shift to that, whatever that is.
I think with the changes, they tried to do too much with the CGI and like changing how E.T. ran, and it was like fiddling with it. But
Yeah, they changed his expressions, which I didn't like.
right,
Like, suddenly he was like
much more animated with his face. But,
cartoonish.
but the real magic of E.T. is everything you see in that movie we saw on the set. Everything E.T. did, nothing was added
E.T.
after.
literally was another actor that we worked with.
Yeah, and it shows in the film. I think it shows in the, you know, even with today's CGI, I don't think you can always make it look as real as it could be if you made it with, you know, real effects. And so that's why I think they backed off and changed it back, and they just swept and made all the changes. They just said, okay, we're just going to go to the original. I think, I don't know, but I agree with. I agreed with taking out the guns because I didn't think it was necessary in that film to have them.
He didn't want to put any more violence back out into society. And don't we wish everybody would choose to do that today? Thank you.
But it was made in a different time. It was made right after all the 70s cop shows and like, you know,
Yeah.
it was
also-
sort of like
It was
the
also
regular-
right after 9/11, and
Right.
it was like, you know,
The consciousness had changed.
yeah. It was kind of cool in the early 80s to say, oh yeah, man, the FBI would shoot anybody.
What?
The CIA, they'll just take anybody. The kids, aliens, it doesn't matter. It's 82, we don't care.
The film he made before that, my wife and I, it's our favorite, Bianca, my wife Bianca MacNaughton, who's here, but it's one of our favorite films is the film he made right before that. It came out literally like right before 9/11. It was called AI. It's a beautiful film and it's special. It's about, you know, it's very heartfelt, and I think it's the closest film of his to E.T. Because of the message and the, you know, and so that was, I think, the place he was coming from when he did the changes to E.T. was he had just put out probably the closest film to E.T. of his.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so we have a question right over there, and then we'll get yours next.
All right, I was just gonna ask you about the stunts, the bicycles, or any stunts that you were able to participate in that you enjoyed at the time?
KC did all the stunts for me and for Henry. He just had to take the headphones off.
No, I didn't. I mean, I I was 10 at the time, and I couldn't even pedal the bike with the real ET in the basket because the ET was like 45 or 50 pounds, and I just couldn't physically do it, so they had to get a stunt double for a lot of those things for me.
There was a bicycle company called Kuwahara that did the bikes, and they had a racing team, like a BMX racing team, and I think our stunt doubles were actually part of that Kuwahara racing team. So they let us do as much as they could, but for obvious reasons, some of the more dangerous stuff they couldn't let us do. So, you know, the stuff through the neighborhood and pedaling really quickly on flat ground, that was us. But jumping over cars and up, you know, sand dunes and things like that. I think one of our stunt doubles was even a female. I don't remember who had it, but she covered one of us.
Of course.
With a short hair wig, so.
And we'll never tell you which one it was.
Robert.
Hey, all right.
I don't know.
With me. No, but I did some scenes on the bikes, but it was frustrating because those bikes were made to do stunts. So those bikes were very light, and they were made to do like twirl the back pedals up in the air.
It's like BMX racing bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had handbrakes, which most bikes of the time that I was used to riding, you would brake by pushing back on the pedals, so you could skid out and do stuff like that, and they were heavier. So when I first got on that bike, you know, it's terrifying because my first scene was going down the driveway, down, go look for ET because he lost them, and you know. Anyway, so I'm going to look for ET, and I go down. I'm careening down this hill, and they had a cop stopping traffic down at the bottom of the hill. And I'm going, but I realize if I hit the brakes too hard, I'm going to go over the handlebars. So I'm kind of trying to ease the brakes at the same time. I've got some speed going, and I flew right by that cop. And I remember him going like that, because he was only stopping traffic up to that point, and then everything after that was regular cars. Yeah, so you know, they weren't the best bikes. Henry, I think, wiped out on one time.
I ate it going down a hill, and
because we weren't used to those kind of like they were great bikes for doing tricks.
They were fine. It was you, Rob.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
I crashed the car. I crashed
look,
the bike.
No. Okay, look, I'm left-handed. The handbrake was on the right, and so the first thing I did was go.
This is why. Yeah.
And then I ate it.
I fixed the
there
brakes.
was one handbrake.
I fixed the brakes on that.
Okay, we got time for one last question.
First, Henry, I want to thank you for doing the Elliot E.T. reunion commercial. Because
Thank you.
I
love
was
that.
13, and then all of a sudden I was back at the drive-in watching E.T. again.
I couldn't
crying
say
my eyes
no.
out. And second of all, could you talk to us about filming the releasing the frog scene in the school lab?
Oh, yeah. That was actually in the beginning of the filming process.
It was the first day of filming.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah,
The
that
frogs
scene.
the first?
The school.
The school,
location was
the
the first day.
classroom,
I have
yeah.
the call sheets, and that was day one.
Oh, I'm not questioning.
I wasn't in that. That was the only day I
I
didn't
just
work.
thought, I don't know, I thought we shot in order.
Once we got to the sound stage, it was all in order.
I
But
see.
the first week was around the neighborhood,
See,
the outside stuff.
That's
just
right, it was
came
all
to the
locations.
sand.
And the first day was the school.
Yeah. It was fun. There were a lot of frogs died that day. But, you know, we...
All right,
Well, not
Peter,
rehearsal.
where are you when we need you?
There was a lot of rehearsals, you know. Frogs had to die.
Yeah. But just, you know, you're trying to walk through that minefield of frogs and kids. You know, it's just a matter of time.
They changed it it was kittens, and then they changed it to frogs. They don't want to lose the audience.
Yeah, you can't do that on film.
See what I had to put up with, do you see?
By the way, if you want to talk about acting and characters and performance, try being a 10-year-old kid and having to kiss a girl and be cool about it in front of all of the crew. That's terrifying.
Oh my god.
Well, especially when she was like, she's 12 and she's about a foot taller than you.
Well,
I did. Well, Stephen came up with the idea that I would stand on the kid's back to kiss the girl, But the funny thing about that whole thing was that I had worked it up in my mind, and it was one of the first days of filming. But I was really terrified to do that, and I had worked it up in my mind because Stephen had made me watch the John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara movie, The Quiet Man, to see that sequence, because E.T.'s watching it, and we have like some weird telepathic link, and I'm supposed to be mimicking what he's seeing, and vice versa. So I had worked it out, it was like a dance move, where I was like, okay, spin her out, bring her back, stand on the kid, kiss the girl, Sounds easy. It's gonna be perfect. And the first take, I'm, I get all the steps right, and I get up on the kid's back, and I almost headbutt poor, Erica Leniak. I almost headbutt her, and our front teeth clash. And I just think, I've ruined it. And then we just did two more takes, but we got it. And it wasn't so bad.
I remember Henry was so scared of doing that scene. We had like about a week of rehearsal before we started filming, and this was the thing he dreaded. This was like this was the scene that he dreaded that he was gonna have to do.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the crying stuff. I was like, I can do that. The emotional stuff didn't tax me. It was the
kissing the girl.
It was just the uncomfortable nature of being 10 years old and in front of the group.
Has Henry Jr. kissed
the whole
the girl
group,
yet?
I'm not sure. He has a girlfriend, so maybe. Let's see. But they play video games and watch movies. No, don't ask.
So next time I watch that, all I'm going to think about is Hell Came to Frogtown.
I think my first kiss was on the set too. In the
Woo!
same breath, so.
Come on.
I don't even remember. I just know that it was a kiss, and then I will tell you that most young boys have no idea how to kiss, and maybe many of the grown men
All
have
young
too,
girls, all young girls know that.
but when you're doing it in front of a room full of people and a crew, and it's being recorded, like that's just a gnarly thing for a little kid to be good at. And that's being saved for posterity. And if you've ever been insecure about anything, that's why I just brought it up to him, because I think I'm like getting my cathartic release through Henry having to do it too.
I gave Henry a hard time about it, and then like the following year, when E.T. came out, I did one other movie called I Am the Cheese, and my screen kiss, my first screen kiss, not my first real kiss, but my first screen kiss was with Cynthia Nixon, and I knew her really well because we were in the same theater company, so that was what made it okay. It was like we knew each other, we were already very familiar, Yeah, well, no, I think we're the same. I think we were the same age.
No, I mean you were older than Henry.
Oh yeah, I was 14, or I was actually 15 when I was doing I Am the Cheese, but I'd never done a screen kiss. That was the one, but it was okay because we knew each other so well, and it was like we were a little bit more, I guess, I don't know, professional. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me tell you, the weirdest love scene I ever had to shoot was with my husband. It's like your mother is sitting on the bottom of the bed. Because all the crew, it was just weird in Cujo, weird.
Oh my God, I love that scene in Cujo too. Oh, you
You
just
would
brought it
love
back.
it.
No, I did. No, I loved it. It was so great because it added so much emotional weight to the whole stuff that happens later. No, I really did. It just brought it back. It is though. It's like it's
Oh,
great.
it's so weird. Yeah.
It's great.
I'm supposed to fast forward through those scenes.
This is surreal. Okay, so
You see how close we all are?
let's give a round of applause to everybody who came out here. Dee Wallace, Henry Thomas, Robert MacNaughton, Casey Martel. Go to the table, get their autographs, ask the questions you're going to ask today. Find out some more about that kissing stuff. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah.